Welcome to Brooks Equipment's FireTech Talk. I'm your host, John Kelly, and today I'm talking with Bob Mete, who currently is an instructor at the FED Learning Center. Bob, you for years have been training the fire and life safety industry on the importance of exit signs and emergency lights. We're lucky to kind of talk about several subjects when it comes to those products. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Bob, you spent a lot of time training service companies on selling and servicing exit signs and emergency lights. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been in the emergency lighting exit sign arena virtually all my life. I was born in the lighting industry, grew up in the lighting industry. Even my dad was in the lighting industry, followed there. I worked for major manufacturers in emergency lighting. And at one point, I joined Brooks Equipment in 1999. It was a very exciting day for me because now I just focused all my energies on training service companies on how to sell and service exit signs and emergency lights. It's been 24 years now.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your current role at the FED Learning Center. What are you doing there? And just tell us about the work of the Learning Center.
Oh, it's been exciting. For years I was asked, we should do something virtually. And I was always on the road, always in different cities and different hotels with all of the different fire service companies. And I kind of pushed back. And I said, no, it'll never work. How are we going to do hands-on? How are the customers, going to relate to this? And then with COVID, we kind of had to do it, and we did it, and it was amazing. So besides just being face-to-face with customers, I can now talk into that camera and reach audiences that couldn't come to a public class or a private class. So it's been a learning evolution, and not only technology, but even on the hands-on side, we were able to accomplish that with multiple cameras doing virtual, and it was exciting. It's having my own little TV studio.
Oh, that is exciting. I like the word you used, evolution. I want to ask you some questions about how exit signs and emergency lights have evolved through the years. Starting back to, when and why was, making sure there are clear paths of exit and having products in place to help building occupants safely exit. When did that start showing itself up in the code?
Well, as we talk about in class, it was the Coconut Grove fire in 1942. 492 people perished that day. And it was from this disaster that the state of Massachusetts really started. There were codes in place, but they weren't enforced. And after this disaster, the state of Massachusetts really stepped up and with enforcement and writing better codes on egress. And the first real introductions of egress lighting, because you got to remember back then, there really wasn't much of this. The industry was in its infancy. In terms of evolution, the one thing, and I always mention this in class, the one thing I truly love about being in the lighting industry is evolution. Because every time throughout the last 45 years that I've been associated with exit signs and emergency lights, I always thought, oh, this is it. This is the newest and the best, and it'll never get better. And then 5-6 years later, a new technology has evolved, and it's like, wow, this has got to be it. And it just keeps going. I'm always amazed at the technological evolution. We went from units with car-sized batteries, and now there's a little lithium battery this big that's powering the exit signs. We went from incandescent bulbs to LEDs. LEDs, this is the biggest transition right now. There's two on the table that have really revolutionized exit signs and emergency lights. One are the LEDs. They came into play in the very late 80s, 90s when Congress passed the energy bill. And they basically said no exit sign can draw more than 5 lamp watts. Well, the exit signs at that time were drawing 20 to 40 watts per sign. So then the LEDs started evolving, and they started out at about 5 watts. Now a new sign is maybe 1 or 2 watts. So the LEDs, and for the exit signs, and throughout the 90s, it was the transition from incandescent to LED. And then manufacturers in the last 5-6 years stopped making incandescent. It just went away. And LEDs have emerged, and I kept saying to myself, well, when are LEDs going to catch up to the emergency light side? Because they were still very dominant with the lead acid battery, typically the 6-volt 4-amp battery, the workhorse of the industry, and incandescent bulbs, little wedge-based bulbs, and then they went to seal beam lamps, and then the MR16 halogen lamps, and wow, this is it. And then some xenon lamps came in, and then finally, in the last 5 years, the LEDs have come onto the scene, and what an improvement. You compare a unit today to a unit 20 years ago, and there's nothing the same. The light output from the current LEDs is phenomenal. I mean, just hands down unbelievable. And now we've gone from lead batteries to nickel cadmium batteries, and now the lithium iron phosphate battery is taking control of the industry. So it's what you knew doesn't matter anymore. You gotta keep learning, and as I said, evolving.
Yeah, things never change. I want to go back to the codes a little bit in the history. It takes constant vigilance, to make sure the codes and standards are in place and keep up with changes in technology. Coconut Grove might have been the first major one, but there has been others since that have reminded us, there's still work to be done when it comes to ensuring building occupants can get out safely.
Exactly.
Tell me, what are these changes in the product evolution? What do you think that means today for a service company who's servicing these products?
It's very interesting. In the next 5-10 years, the service companies will get most of their revenue in service dollars, doing the monthlies, doing the annuals, and repair, because the technology is, the lithiums have a longer life. The LEDs have, anywhere from 10 to 25-year life, where in the past that BT6, the 15-watt incandescent lamp, the AC lamp, if it lasted 6 months, it was doing something. And the bigger 20-watter, that didn't last a month. So the service techs always had a large inventory on board of lamps, because they're always replacing, because they were always out. They always had a large amount of lead acid batteries on their vehicles. Why? Because the temperatures inside an exit sign, the temperature is the nemesis of a lead battery, and it would, these batteries, although they have a service life of 8 to 10 years, they were in most cases hardly getting a year, maybe 2 years. So there was that constant product sale there. Always, we're going to get batteries, we're going to get lamps. But as with nickel cadmium and lithium, and also I forgot to mention, nickel metal hydrate is coming on the scene now. So the chemistries have totally changed, and they have a longer life. The LEDs have a longer life. You're going to be getting your revenue from doing the actual inspections.
So Bob, not every jurisdiction has the same code or standard around exit signs and emergency lights. For instance, I've seen, especially when I'm staying out west, some exit signs that they're low, they're like a foot off the ground. Can you explain that to us, why that is, and is that something we'll see be adopted in other jurisdictions?
It's a good question, and yes, it is primarily out west. Mainly in California, kind of where it really blossomed. The term for that is low-level lighting, low-level exits. Usually, now in where we are right now, you see the low levels, and they're tritium signs, which really makes a lot of sense because you don't have to run wiring or power to them. You just put them down along the floor. The reason for low level is that in the event of a fire, the smoke will be coming down from the ceiling. It'll come to the ceiling and then come down, and in theory, you'll be not running, but you'll be crawling. And so as you're crawling down a hallway, you know, the sign above the door may be sight impinged because you can't see it because of the smoke, how dense the smoke is, but you'll be able to see a low-level exit sign. At some point, they were experimenting with photoluminescent stripping along the baseboards, which would glow and you would just follow that out to the nearest egress point. Will it catch on across the country? I don't think so, just my personal opinion, because it's been around for 30, 35 years. And I don't think if it's caught on by now, I don't think it is. But then again, who knows what, you know, as I said earlier, the evolution, who knows what the next great low-level exit sign will be, so.
Well, Bob, this has been a really interesting conversation. Thanks so much for your insights.
It's my pleasure.
And thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.